You're listening to Eat, Play, Sex with Dr. Cat, the place to up-level that sexy life of yours, with expert talk on sex, love, and nutrition. And even the moments, even the events itself, being able to say, okay, I can see how I'm contributing to this, leading up. And then Kelli being able to say, I'm working with these parts of me that come up and say these things, which is so important for all of us. Even for me, who's a therapist, I do that same practice, and we call it titration. Can I sit with the previous statement that keeps bugging me and keeps poking me and telling me that something's wrong and I need to protect myself, versus the other cognition that we want to be stepping into, or reminding ourselves that we're this adult self with these other wisdoms, insights, resources, skills that we didn't have access to when we were younger. And so the two of you being able to come together is what makes that change. And people don't get into that. It's almost like we get into this blaming or trying to get the other person to see us over and over again. And that's where we butt heads and get stuck in this gridlock, is like, you're not seeing me. Well, you're not seeing me. Right. And then like, nobody's like actually taking the responsibility for their part, because we do have a part in it.
Yeah. I think part of it too is like Kelli will do stuff, and I'm sure this is the same way, and I just don't need to understand why. I'm just like, I don't get it. Whatever, dude. Like, do your thing. Like, I'm just keep doing my thing. And it goes both ways. Yeah. But it's not like everything has to be. I don't have to understand everything. Like, I don't need to have a rationale or an understanding of why Kelli needs to redesign the living room for the third time in 5 months. Yeah. I don't know. But it's like, hey, do you need me to help you move the coffee table? Like, that's, it's like, it is what it is. I'm just like, okay, I'm here. Like, it's fun. It's kind of funny. It's kind of cute. It becomes cute after a while, and not, but is the need to try to like get in there and like dig in it. It doesn't, in some things, I think it's just better left to be like, oh, we're different people. And that's kind of what makes us fun. Kelli grew up being perfectionist, and I was, I don't know, spraying matchbooks with WD-40 and trying to start fires in my house. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I was jumping off my house into the pool while she was like scared to do anything. It's just, we're different people, Yeah. Well, it's different stuff like that.
I think too, that speaks to not making your person your everything.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I have always been extremely codependent. My mom and I had a very unhealthy codependent relationship. And so all of my romantic relationships have reflected that. And I never understood that your partner is not supposed to be your everything. I thought that was how this worked. And when we got into our relationship and then we moved to Colorado and then COVID hit, we learned real quick about how fucking much space we needed from each other. But I think it taught us a lot about finding other people to fill those needs. And I have an incredible group of friends that I can process this shit out of my stuff with. And they will help me find meaning in all of it. And we will talk to aliens, and we will, talk to plants. And I feel so great because I get to scratch that itch. If I bring that shit to Connor, he looks at me like, what the fuck are you doing? And what are you talking about? Like, I'm not even on your wavelength. And so I think that has helped us a lot too, because, and he has his hunting buddies and like all these people he wants to do other stuff with. And I think we took the pressure off each other to do all of that with, to process all of that with. So now we can look at each other and be like, oh, this is just what you do. And like, if you want to talk about it, maybe you'll talk to me, maybe you'll talk to someone else. It doesn't really matter. But I think fulfilling ourselves in a lot of different ways is actually what has helped us with that too.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny because to come to me if you want to actually fix a thing.
Yeah. Not to just like lollygag talk about it.
Which is the masculine, like, personified.
Yeah.
It is, but it's, and there's something to listen as well too, and just be like, okay, I hear you, I get it. But also it's, hey, there's a problem, right, with the business or something's going on and we gotta put some fires out. Like, that's where I'm more engaged in that versus, you've got your girls, you got Katie, you can call, talk about
my inner child healing that he didn't want to listen to.
I was over here working. I was like in the middle of two different things. Something was going on. I had an audio issue on the podcast. I had to re-record the whole thing. It was the whole deal. And Kelli came on, she's like, I just had this really great realization about my inner child. And I was like, what, dude, do I look like I'm in the fucking place to be talking about inner child right now? Like, I have to get this done like yesterday. And she just kept talking. And I was like, okay.
And cool. How do you honor that that's meaningful for her?
In that situation, I was like, I have plenty of time to talk about that later. But right now I'm doing this.
Yeah.
But no, and if that kind of stuff comes up, like I can definitely hold space for that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm just not, but I'm not the sisterhood circle. You know what I'm saying? So it's like knowing where I have the capacity to do that, or us both knowing that, right? Because it's fun for me to a point.
Yeah.
But if constant processing all the time, like that's not.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of familiarity with. I've been through those phases in my life, but that's not necessarily how I live. You know what I'm saying? So it's this like on road trips and shit like that. Great time for that kind of stuff. Just like pontificating about whatever.
So what I've learned,
Kelly, you know more than I do about myself.
Yeah,
again.
I'm like, you're not answering this the way that it actually works. So Connor came to me a long time ago and said, I need you to stop interrupting me in the middle of the day to process your stuff. I'm in the middle of working and I am someone who I'm working on this. Like for you to bring that in, it now derails me. I don't have a personality that can handle this. And so, stuff comes up that's like urgent where I'm having a meltdown. I'm on IVF hormones and I like can't see straight. And I'm like, no, we're doing this now at noon and I don't care what you're doing. But for the most part, I've learned two things. One, try and wait until the end of the day when he's not in the middle of working to approach him with something that's come up if it's not urgent. And two, try and process a lot of the emotion before coming to him, because when I come to him, and I've cried already and I've like kind of had my realization. And then I come to share it with him and maybe further excavate it. He's incredible. If I come a wailing mess all over the place and I can't come up with words and he's in the middle of working, it's a disaster because it doesn't make sense in his brain. He's like, I don't get why this is happening. And I don't even get what's happening. I'm just crying.
Well, then I can't quit thinking about it for the rest of the day either. So like a third of my brain power is now gone to like, what was that about?
Yeah. And so, and maybe, I don't know if this is healthy or not, but this is just kind of how we work now is I wait until I've like kind of had a little bit of an experience and then I come to him and then he'll help me sift through it and whether it's make sense of it or come to a conclusion or whatever. And I just try not to interrupt him with those things unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah. When you were on IVF, that was a completely different scenario, right? Like that was a whole, that's an outlier situation.
Yeah. So I hear
think that's how.
Both being able to recognize the strengths and that the other person have, or even the limitations of the other person, and not trying to project that they are supposed to be able to hold and do and be all of these things that we're asking them to for our fulfillment.
Yes.
While also this is something I tell my clients and my students all the time of like, what your partner enjoys and what they find fulfillment in may not be meaningful for you, but can you find the joy in their excitement about it? Can you connect with the excitement of how they're finding this playful? You know, you're watching a show together and it's really exciting for them. And you're like, oh my God, this is the most boring thing. But you look over at your partner and they're like excited and they're like in it and they want to talk about it. And so it's more of like being with that part rather than having to be able to volley back and forth about this truck show. I don't know.
Literally, I was just thinking, Kat, if I have to watch one more video about a truck on YouTube, I'm going to shoot myself. Like, it's so funny, but I love this about Connor. He's such a little boy. When it comes to hunting and trucks and four-wheelers and things like that, or even training the puppy for hunting, he gets so excited and he wants to just share everything and tell me everything. And oh my God, look at it. Ah! And I'm just like, oh my God, I literally don't care, but I love watching him be so happy. So I sit there and I listen and I nod and I take in as much information as I can. And it's not my thing. I'd rather talk about mushrooms and souls choosing bodies, but that's not what he wants to do. That's not what brings him the most joy.
Yeah.
And then I hope that because I'm so good at listening and playing along and being a part of his experience, that he'll come along for my wild adventure and listen to me talking about God knows what and nod and smile and be happy because I'm happy. And I just spilled Topo Chico all over the table. But I think, I don't know. I think we do a good job of kind of balancing those two out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lovers, thank you again for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, hit subscribe and head over to eatplaysex.com to connect with me and grab my sexy guides. Because my goal here is to get you to eat, play, and sex better so you can improve your sex life, which will improve every aspect of your life. Until next time, keep it sexy.